We're back with our special report, White House in Crisis. Breaking tonight, CNN confirms that President Trump is expected to hire a personal lawyer outside of his White House legal team to represent him in the Russia investigation.
This on a day of bombshell testimony by former CIA Director John Brennan. And joining us now to discuss all of this, a member of the House Intelligence Committee, Democratic Congressman Mike Quigley. Congressman, thank you so much for coming on the show. So much to discuss, and really some big revelations coming from John Brennan's testimony today. Of course, the former CIA director really expressing his concern about the contacts between Russians and Trump campaign associates during the campaign. And then, of course, you had a closed-door session with him after. What was the big takeaway for you?
The fact that he reinforced what had happened, what Director Comey said. There is an investigation. The Russians did successfully hack into our democratic process, and there were connections between the Trump campaign and the Russians. Reinforcing that to the American public.
But he stopped short of saying that he knew of collusion. He stopped short of that. He said it was unresolved. What did you make of that?
I think that's why the investigation continues. It's easy to forget we're in the infancy of this investigation, and we're already at the point that he talked about today. We haven't brought forth any one of those witnesses in this list that we've talked about. We have many more hearings to go and more documents to read.
You heard the White House reaction today, and they said, as the president has said many times before, and the White House has said before that, saying, you heard Director Brennan today. He said there's no evidence of collusion. In fact, he didn't say there's no evidence. He said that it's just not a resolved question. You're hearing from him both in public session and in private session, where, of course, you get into classified materials that you can't discuss. But just to be clear to our viewers, did he eliminate the possibility of collusion? Did he say to you that there is no evidence of collusion?
I think when the director says that his radar went up, that they pulled these and they wanted to find out exactly what took place, he said that in open session, and that expressed a lot of concerns. He said very specifically, this is why the investigation needs to go forth. What I have said is, if you had read what I had read and heard what I had heard, the American public would want this investigation to go forward full throttle. I think that's what the director said again today.
And after this closed session, were you more alarmed after the session than perhaps before?
No, I think what the director was reinforcing is the information that we've been collecting all along. I think it's another major player in the intel community reinforcing where this investigation is this time, and the fact that it has to go forward.
Were you surprised to hear the former director of the CIA utter the word treasonous in public session regarding Russian interference?
Yeah, I've heard various choices now in terms of what kind of offenses we could conceivably be talking about. Acting as an agent of a foreign power, today treason. You know, at some point in time, what I tell folks is, even if there was no crime, the fact that agents of a major political party were cooperating, potentially cooperating with the Russians, our enemy for all of our lifetimes, is as big a thunderbolt of news as they probably would have gotten since Watergate.
You said cooperating, then you said potentially cooperating, but what do you mean specifically? What can you tell us in terms of what you've seen about cooperating?
Yeah, in open session, Director Comey said, upon my questioning, that he doesn't think collusion is a legal term of art. So he used the word cooperation.
But have you seen anything indicating cooperation?
Well, what I've said is not enough evidence to take it to a jury, but enough evidence to take it to a grand jury, right? There's enough probable cause to believe that there was cooperation. Clearly enough evidence to go forward and find out more. Again, we still haven't interviewed any of our witnesses, and we're already at this point.
And the cooperation on what? The timing of the release of information, the stolen emails during the election? What do you mean when you say cooperation?
Yeah, at this point, all I can say is cooperation in general. We'll leave it at that.
I want to get to the administration's response as well, because the FBI director said that he called his Russian counterpart with the FSB, called a Russian spy chief, in effect, in the midst of this, I believe in June last year. So that's several months before the Obama administration fingered Russia publicly in October, a month before the election. So he already knew that this was happening then. Why so long for the Obama administration to react? In retrospect, do you believe the administration should have acted more quickly and more strongly to this interference?
Yeah, I think what you might take from that is the Obama administration didn't want to tilt the campaign or give the appearance that they were releasing information to affect the campaign. Looking back, knowing what we know now, I wish they had all called press conferences and told us exactly what they know.
I should say the phone call was in August, but still 2 months before, the phone call to the FSB, 2 months before they publicly fingered Russia with that famous statement now, before the election.
Right. All right. Thank you so much, Congressman Quigley. Appreciate it.
Congressman Quigley, we appreciate it. We look forward to staying in touch.
Yep. And coming up, new subpoenas for Michael Flynn. Senators don't want to let a pivotal figure in the Russia probe get away with pleading the Fifth.
And a new sighting of former FBI Chief James Comey as he gets ready for his big testimony on the Hill.